Hello, I am Zoe Paul, and today I will be performing my speech Jean-Michel Basquiat, Same Old Shit, and these are my note cards. Is my audience ready?
Yes.
All right, I will begin on my first word. Boring, uninteresting, lacking emotion, lacking depth. A painting. Blocks of color on a canvas, splattered paint, chalk scribbles, a banana taped to the wall. In a 2011 Vice article titled, "I went to Art Basel to try and get art," author George Coco says, "Do we really need to keep doing this? I mean, isn't it pretty well established what art is by now?" Americans are sick of modern art, contemporary, abstract, with 51% or less of Americans considering iconic abstract art as real art. I'm sure it's something you guys have felt as well. I know I have. But there's one artist that made me think differently on this, as well as many others. Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel Basquiat was known for his art that both enraged and dazzled Americans. It was honest, it was heartfelt, and it was shocking. In this speech today, we're going to be talking about how Jean-Michel Basquiat, or the same old shit, changed art and changed what it meant, as well as how that impacted society. In the 1960s and 70s, art was meant to be minimalistic. It had to be neat, it had to be clean, it had to be compressed. But with a boom in creativity and self-expression, people made art that fought against this. Again, Basquiat made art that was honest. He used a combination of colors, lines, symbols, and words to communicate ideas and thoughts that were not common to talk about. His artwork consisted of topics of racism, social injustice, mortality, and so much more. This birthed Neo-Expressionism. Britannica.com defines Neo-Expressionism as a rejection of traditional standards of composition and design, an ambivalent and often brittle emotional tone that reflected contemporary urban life and values, lack of concern for pictorial idealization, the use of vivid but jarringly banal color harmonies, intense and painful presentation of objects in a primitivist manner that communicates a sense of inner disturbance, tension, alienation, and ambiguity. As the Smithsonian said, Basquiat was and still is considered a groundbreaking artist in the Neo-Expressionist art movement. Basquiat is also credited to be the inspiration or the groundwork for some of the world's most famous artists. One of these artists is Andy Warhol, most famously known for his art piece Campbell's Soup Cans. Andy Warhol had art in the very same art gallery Basquiat did in 1982. He did not know Basquiat, but he did know the tag "same old shit." He found this fascinating. After Basquiat and Warhol were connected by a mutual art dealer, the two immediately hit it off and decided they had to make work together. After this, they formed a lifelong, beautiful friendship. As Keith Haring says in the 2023 article, Basquiat and Warhol Inside Their Unlikely Artist Collaborations by author Susan Delson, Andy loved the energy with which Jean would totally eradicate one image and enhance another. Keith Haring was also another artist that Basquiat had a deep friendship with. Keith Haring and Basquiat met not knowing who one another was, but similar to Warhol, Haring knew the tag "same old." Once he found out Samo and Basquiat were the same person, he knew that he had to be friends with him. And once again, they began to make art together. They then led into a very complex companionship that was idolized by many other artists around them. Other artists that credit Banksy as being their muse are Banksy, Wes Lang, Abuda, George Condo, and Diego Tirgal. This goes to show not just how important Basquiat was to Neo-Expressionism, but art as a whole, then, now, and continuing into the future. Basquiat's work and his existence are both purposefully and inherently incredibly political. As a queer black man in the 70s, he wasn't supposed to have a place in art. Art was dominated by the straight white man, and anything else was immediately cast to the side. But as soon as Basquiat gained popularity, people began to realize anybody could have a seat in the world of art. It did not matter the color of your skin or who you loved or anything else. It just mattered if you were honest and if your art meant something. He also proved that graffiti and street art had a place in highbrow art, what was once defined as racially low class and not to be consumed by the high class was now considered beautiful. It was considered innovative. It was considered interesting. Basquiat also then used his success to help upcoming artists gain publicity and get established. As said earlier, his artwork touched on topics such as racism, sexism, capitalism, and more. We can see this in his art piece, The Irony of a Black Policeman, in which it's about exactly what you think. Him and Herring were walking on the street one day when they were stopped by a black police officer for looking suspicious. Nothing else. Another piece that encapsulates all of these ideas that Basquiat tended to make art about is Bird on Money, 1981. This is a tribute to jazz musician Charlie Parker, but it's a little bit more than that. As you look closer to the piece, you see references to capitalism and society's obsession with race and money and a profound topic of racism. Overall, the piece is a big conversation on Charlie Parker's success as a black man, regardless of the struggles society threw at him. These works, as well as the rest of Basquiat's art, frequently are used to talk about the biggest and ugliest issues we as a society face. It allows people to see and digest art in a different way and think about these topics in a way differently than it has been before. It allows them to feel these topics differently than they did before. Today, we talked about Jean-Michel Basquiat and his undeniable impact on art and how we see it, how we digest it, how we feel it. We saw how he had incredible influence upon the world's greatest artists, and we also saw how his art changed society and impacted how the world handled Black queer artists. So now, when you go to your next art show and you see a neon banana painted on a canvas, instead of wondering, what is this? You now know that Basquiat is the hand behind the original brush, and that no, it isn't just the same old shit. Thank you. And once again, here are my note cards.